Ladies and gentlemen, Jim Krut, one of the greatest men alive. Hello, everybody. Welcome to episode 1,946,237 of The End of the Night. I am David Lee Madison, and tonight, no, Joe Ridgely did not get a facelift and look handsome all of a sudden. Tonight, the lovely and talented CJ, is it Robles or Robles, or how do we say this properly so I don't look like a schmuck?
Robles, just say Robles.
The lovely and talented CJ Robles is standing in for Mr. Joe Ridgely tonight. CJ, how are you, my friend?
I'm doing well. Thank you for having me. I'm like super ecstatic just to be here. How you doing?
I'm doing very well. Now, before we start this train wreck of a show, as you could tell, I have really bad bedhead because I was literally sleeping like 3 minutes ago. And I want to know, is the hair really that bad so I should go for the hat look? Like the hat?
Well, the hair's
or
not
should
that
I,
bad.
or should just leave the hair?
I say the hair's not that bad, but you can pull off a hat. So
You know what's funny? I bought this hat in Pennsylvania when I was shooting Darkness Waits with Grunkle Scott Schiaffo and the lovely Libby McDermott and Matt Staley. And they said it's a nice hat, but they said it was too small for my head. So ever since they said that, I feel kind of awkward wearing it. So I'll just go with
the Tiffany Shepard's comment right there.
Yeah.
So that movie.
I was having a good evening, and then you bring up Tiffany Shepard.
I get it. I'm gonna break the eggs right away. Just get it out there. And that was Darkness Waits, Libby McDermott film, Matt Staley. And,
yeah, look at that. I didn't even make the poster.
And but you're in this scene right here. Look at
There,
that.
oh, there I am. Looking like I want cheese or something. I don't know what the hell's going on there.
Joe Mason.
Yes.
Good evening, fine sirs.
Good evening, Jeff. I hope you are well, my friend. It's good to see you.
Oh, what's up, David and CJ? Looking forward to another awesome end of the night. And tomorrow night's My Manic Monday special guest is Brandon E. Brooks. So
sweet! Congratulations, Brandon. I seen pictures on Facebook of Brandon and Gabe at Monster Mania. So I hope you guys had a wonderful time. Monster Mania is a great show. It's been around forever and it's just a great show.
Oh yes. Libby McDermott's here too. I didn't.
Okay. Somebody said it was too small for my head.
Thank you, Libby.
Haven for Heroes. If you are anywhere near Orange County, New York, a small town called Port Jervis, which is up there in a corner where New York, New Jersey, and Pennsylvania meet. Wonderful, wonderful store that sells comic books and antique toys, and they have those tables where all the kids play their Magic and all those games. Check out Haven for Heroes in Port Jervis. Say hello to my dear friend Emmett, who owns Haven for Heroes. He's a great guy. And Emmett, I can't wait to see you on Thursday for my lovely traditional St. Patrick's Day corned beef and cabbage dinner. I'm not sure if that hack O'Halloran is joining us yet, but if he may be, so if you're bringing dessert, remember that O'Halloran eats for like 7. With that being said, we're having quite an amazing show tonight. Jim Krut will be joining us, who, if you're into the horror genre, he really needs no introduction. But we're going to take a little bit of a serious tone on our show a little bit later tonight and discuss the war in Ukraine with the lovely and talented Jim Krut, because he has a lot of ties to the Ukraine. He has a lot of wonderful stories to tell us about his homeland, and we're going to try and figure out what's going on in this crazy world. And Maybe we can get word out to make things better. Saw him today. He said he would probably see me. Oh, okay. There you go. Hearts, clappy heart. Wait, I was cleaning out this weekend. I built a closet, like an extension on my house, where I literally just I amass massive amounts of junk.
Oh.
And I found some cool stuff while cleaning out this particular space. Pardon me as I hydrate. Back in 1997, the very, very first movie I made, I shot it on 16 millimeter. I think it's floating around somewhere on Facebook or YouTube or something. But oddly enough, I found the VHS box for it. Oh, awesome. And it was called, can you guys see what it was called?
The End of the Night.
The End of the Night. How cool.
That's awesome, dude.
Yeah, there's the back. Of course, this was a self-made box. But back in 1995, there was this little thing called VHS tapes. And sadly, I just have the case. I don't have the movie anymore. Let's go. I don't know what the hell happened.
But you do have that digital copy you said that's floating around?
Yeah, I have it on DVD. When Mr. Hush was being released, Kino Lorber wanted to put the movie, my first movie, on as like a bonus or whatever they call those, like special bonus on the DVD. But because because I had songs by like Roy Orbison and I think there's a Huey Lewis song. They couldn't license all the music that I used in like a film that I made as a kid. Last VHS tapes were produced in 2006.
Yeah, it's been a minute.
Wow.
Yeah, I went yesterday to the little bookstore, and I got something that I was like kind of more like for myself, but I noticed I overpaid, but it's okay. Got me a Vince Young action figure.
Holy crap, Vince Young. Is he the guy who? Oh wait, he's alive, right?
Yeah, he's alive.
No, there was wasn't there a Tennessee Titans quarterback who passed away?
Steve McNair.
Steve McNair, yes.
Yeah, and I got that, but I used to work at his restaurant, so I'm gonna try to slide in there and see if I can get a signature here.
Oh, but, sweet.
Yeah,
is he a nice man?
Yeah, he's cool. Actually, when I first met him, one of the things I enjoyed about meeting him was I came out of somebody came out of the restroom, I came out of the back room. And I'm like, well, this guy's massive. Whoever's in front of me, and I hadn't met him yet. And I see him walking towards like his group of people. He sees the busser, the guy that's in charge, like the busser, the guy that picks up the tables. He sees him, and he's like, oh, let me go say hi to him. And he just walked up to him, took his time, shook his hand, asked about his family, and they had a conversation. And I was like, oh, that's Vince Young. And the busser was like, yeah, he hangs out with me here, and like we're friends. So I was like, holy crap, he's nice. Like for him to like stop, turn around, and to walk all the way to say hi, I was like, that's cool. Because then you do deal with.
He's one of those guys who had a much better college career than
pro career. Yeah, definitely. NFL was a little rough on him.
No, I know that you were actually taking a nap right before this show. Do you know the big news? I mean, there's enormous news in the NFL. Don't looking up. Do you know what the enormous news that dropped in the last hour in the NFL is?
I was asleep. No, I don't.
Okay, this is actually if you do you like football?
Yeah.
This is gonna blow your mind, and this is 100% true. Tom Brady unretired. And is playing, and is going to come back with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Wait, he couldn't take the 20 minutes off. He had
yeah, that was actually kind of funny. Now, before we get into the football any further, there's one other thing I found other than the cool End of the Night VHS box tape, and this is actually a really funny story. My wife and I went to a Weird Al Yankovic concert in New York City. It was one of those concerts that they were like dinner tables and the stage, and Weird Al was singing "One More Minute," which is like his love song. And my wife, who was a very, very beautiful woman when she was young, and she still is, Weird Al walked up to her while he was singing "One More Minute" and pulled out of his pants his underwear. And these are, he took the underwear and literally put it on my wife's head like this. And then my wife sat at the concert for the rest of the show wearing Weird Al Yankovic's underwear on her head. And these right here are Weird Al Yankovic's underwear. No, I mean, what's cooler than having Weird Al Yankovic's underwear on your head?
That's pretty awesome that he was able to take off his underwear while wearing pants still. And
And if anybody wants to know, he wears Joe Boxer, apparently. Joe Boxer.
That's a pretty cool story. That's like when my stepdad, they went to Vegas one time, and Siegfried and Roy, like, they did the Vegas vacation thing where they took my stepdad on the part of the magic trick, and then they put him backstage, so he didn't get to see the whole show. He was just back there eating a steak. And my mom was in the front by herself. So that's what that's about. Oh, look at that! Wow, what a surprise! She's great. Lee Hoffman said she's great.
I hope Lee's great. Lee's awesome. And I hope you're feeling well, Lee. I know you've been a little bit under the weather, and I hope that everything is wonderful with you. And without any further ado, this show is always very light, and you've been wearing them ever since. Yes. It's my way of having my junk rubbed where Weird Al's junk rubbed. The show is always very light, but tonight I want to take a different tone because there's some very, very, very horrific things happening in the world. And I think there needs to be voices out there that need to be heard and to discuss what's going on. And with that being said, without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, oh, wait, let me ask you one other thing before I bring Mr. Krut out. Is Grunkle Scott in the green room?
I believe so. He's there. He's here. Yes.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, my lovely co-host and dear friend, Grunkle Scott Giaffo. Grunkle Scott, how are you, my friend?
Hey, what's going on, guys? I'm hanging in there. I'm hanging in there.
No, I hear you. I know you have a busy agenda tonight, and I'm glad that you are able to pop in and off the show tonight because I know that you got some things going on. But you and I both worked with the lovely and talented Jim Krut on Darkness Waits, and we both consider him a dear, dear friend. Do you have any thoughts on just what kind of guy Jim is before we bring him on?
Well, I was thinking earlier today about tonight's show, and Jim is what the English used to call a country gentleman. First and foremost, he's just a gentleman. He's a lovely person, mild-mannered, funny, it's a crazy talented actor, a very underrated actor. I love the guy, man. Really, he's a sweetheart. He's one of the nicest guys I've met in the business, and that's the truth.
And I couldn't have said it any better. I never met anybody who's more kind and sincere, and you never ever for a minute have to wonder what this gentleman is thinking about you, because he is just an honest, straightforward, wonderful human being. And with that being said, ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Krut. Yay!
Good evening, friends and folks and friends and foes and all who are there.
Hopefully no foes.
No foes, no foes.
No foes.
Hey, well, thank you very much for having me on, guys. That's a humbling and remarkable series of introductions. It was great work with you guys too. It was Darkness Waits was a unique film, and of course, Libby and Matt did a wonderful job with it. I'm just so grateful and glad you guys were able to be part of it. And we had a chance to work together. We were actually even in the same room together.
Wow, even in the same room, yes. And it was nice to have somebody almost as tall as me in a movie. It was kind of fun.
I was sitting down when you walked in, but I think you bribed Libby to do that.
I have to look taller, damn it. No.
Well, it's a work contract.
Yeah, well, Jim has actually been on this show many, many times before. He's been on our holiday shows. He's been on my birthday show. He's had a standalone episode where we celebrated his career, and Jim is just an outstanding and wonderful man. But tonight, Jim, I actually want to talk to you because of what's going on the other side of the world right now in the Ukraine. Uh, First off, tell us a little bit about your background with the Ukraine and about your family and such.
Okay, to get into my family connections involving Ukraine, my grandfather and grandmother on my dad's side, before they were married, came from Ukraine to Pennsylvania and worked up near Titusville, Pennsylvania, northwestern part of the state, got married, and about a year later, my dad was born. And 3 years later, they went back to Ukraine with my dad. My dad was there until he was about 15 years old. And at that point, his uncle said, I've got 2 tickets to America. Do you want to go? And he said, sure. So he came to the United States, came into New York Harbor, and didn't speak a word of English. But he was an American citizen because he was born in Pennsylvania. My father never had a chance to go back to see any of his family ever again. Because of the Soviet Union situation, all mail was sorted through before it went either way. Before they received it, before it went from their house past the post office, everything was examined. And I thought that's a pretty paranoid society. So after my dad passed away, my mother, back in 1978, said, would you like to go to see the Soviet Union, maybe try to catch up with some relatives in Ukraine? And I said, well, yeah, that'd be terrific. And she said, everything's taken care of. I'll just take care of the ticket. 2 weeks before we were to go, the Intourist, which was the Russian travel agency, said, because you are going to this one city, Lviv, there will be no meals for you on the trip and no interpreters. What? So my mother gave me a call. She said, we've been planning this for months, and now they say no meals, no interpreters. We might not have a guide, anything like that. But it might be our only chance ever to go. So we went. We flew into Moscow, where my mother's wallet was stolen in about 2 days. And we later recovered some of the contents about 3 weeks later. I learned a little bit about the Soviet style, I'd say, at that point, and how paranoid and how dark everything was. And just in a sense, how flippant they were with people's lives and liberty. We went from there to Leningrad, which is now St. Petersburg again. And it was just like the darkest oppressive, how can I say, a Casablanca type movie, where they're like evil people hanging around watching you all the time. And I mean, they knew what was going on. I'll give you a couple insights tonight that I maybe haven't told people before, just to give you a little sense of it. My uncle and I went to a museum, and it was across this little bridge. It was St. Peter and Paul's Fortress. We thought, gee, that's where Dostoevsky was imprisoned. Let's go have a look at that. Well, we go in, we cross this little bridge, and we realize we don't speak Russian. We don't understand what's going on, but it'd be nice to get a tour. So we heard somebody giving a tour in English, so we just kind of saddled up with them. So that was pretty cool. And we're going through, and then they start to take us down past the prisons, the jail cells. And the group, people go in, go out, people in, go out. I'm the last one in the party, so I go in. And I'm looking around, and somebody says, how do you like Russian prison? I said, it's rather small. I'd rather not be here. I have to catch up with my party. You're not with a party. You're not with a group. What are you doing? I said, no, I'm just looking around. I have to go up and catch the rest of the tour. You don't have to catch tour. It kind of went downhill from there until we started going up the stairs into the daylight again, and I felt it was a little safer. And I said, your English is actually pretty good. I haven't heard many people speak English. He said, he was up north. I said, well, I thought Moscow, that was up north. He said, no, Siberia. He was in prison camp. Oh, okay. Had one book, English. Oh, okay. So he learned English. Okay. I said, well, okay, now that we're getting to be friends and all, I have a question for you. When we checked into the hotel in Moscow, as soon as we got in, two guys came in and they took apart the outlets and they messed around with them for about 15 minutes. Do you think they were putting microphones in there? He said, oh, of course not. No. I said, oh, righty. Well, here we are at this little bridge. I'm almost ready to go to the hotel. Oh, look, there's a little boy fishing off the bridge, and he caught a fish. And I said, hey, looks like you caught a fish. He said, careful, it might be microphone. I mean, some of the stuff is so outrageous you can't invent it. It's so blatant in so many ways. The next phase of our journey, and I tell you this as a lead up to talking about the family, just so you'll get a sense of what my impressions were of life in the Soviet Union. We went to Kiev, was Kiev at the time, and after being frustrated about being able to order food and no tours and people speaking the right language and all that good stuff, young man comes up to us at the airport when we flew in. He said, if you're going into town, would you mind if I got in the cab with you? He's speaking English. Come on. Yeah, let's go for a ride. That'd be great, man. And I said, well, do you live in in Kiev? And he said, he's a student. He got in some trouble with the government, but I said, your English is so good. I said, it's better than a lot of people I know. And he said, well, we only study two languages, English and Chinese. Those are the only two language speaking groups that we would ever go to war with. Oh, well, I said, well, so much for French and Spanish and German and all the other things we're learning in the U.S. But let's move on here. I have to tell you that we got there to the hotel. He was a little reluctant to walk in because of all the people guarding the doors. He wanted. I said, look, come in and have lunch with us. We had lunch. He said, well, would you like to go out and see a little of the city? Well, my mother was with me, my uncle and another friend, and they said, no, they were tired. They were just going to take a break. So I went out with this friend, Alex, and he said, over there, that's a Cathedral San Sofia. That's Saint Sophia. That's beautiful. I said, oh yeah, it's a beautiful church. He said, over there, it's KGB headquarters. I said, oh, okay. He said, how would you like to see Soviet apartment? I said, well, okay, I'm a young kid. What do I know? I get around. Let's go see what a Soviet apartment looks like. Okay. I have to drop back in time here a few years. Now, this was 1978. I was in Vietnam in 1969 and 70. I was stationed with a 155 self-propelled howitzer unit. And after a year, I got out with a few scratches, but that to me was pretty much in the past. We get to his apartment and a big screen TV, color TV, 1978. I'm thinking, these guys are doing pretty well. Who else lives here? This is a big apartment. Oh, my mother, my dad, my grandmother. Where are they? Oh, they're out shopping or something. Oh, okay. I said, so you watch the soccer games? He said, oh yeah, big time football, yeah. He said, you want to see one of my textbooks from school, college? And I said, oh, sure. He hands me the U.S. Army Field Manual for the 155 self-propelled howitzer. He said, does this look right? I thought, God, how dumb am I? You know, hit me over the head again, you know, so I get it. You know, everybody here who's talking to us has something they're trying to tell us, and there's something that they want. So it was pretty, yeah, I'd say it's a little bit intimidating in terms of experience, but just to have you kind of get sucked in and brought along, and then, damn, by the way, here's my, KGB ID card in case you haven't gotten it yet, dummy. So from there, we went to Odessa. And if you're familiar with, the Potemkin Steps, Battleship Potemkin, and, the famous scene of the Potemkin Steps, which leads from the hillside down to the water, down to the shoreline. And in the movie, there's a baby carriage that gets lost and bounces down the steps. And it's such a memorable scene. And there I am, standing on top of the steps, these same very steps. I'm just being amazed, taking it all in. But I also have my little video camera, and I'm going, here's the steps, that's where the bounce and bounce. And then I hear, do not turn the camera to the left or to the right. That's coming from behind me. Somebody I have no idea who it is said, you may not take pictures of anything but the steps. Oh, sure. Hey, you got it, buddy. Uh-huh. I try not to get too paranoid, but it's like there was nobody you could trust. Everybody was watching you. And that's the feeling of living in the Soviet Union. We finally got to Lviv, and family was meeting us. We had no idea who they were. They were my dad's relatives, a couple uncles, cousins, bunches of folks. And we finally had a chance to get together and spend some time with them. I don't want to get into too much detail because that gets into some specifics that might get them into trouble still. So that was my first experience with the Soviet Union. Meanwhile, we kept in touch. We did get to visit them in their village, and we were able to stay in touch for maybe 6 months and thank them for their hospitality and showing us around and getting back together. And then everything stopped. Apparently, a couple KGB officers came to the village and asked whether there had been some strangers in town. Well, I know from a couple of my cousins, we were walking down the street in this town, and they said, Jim, don't talk, because somebody was coming toward us. So we all nodded, and then they said, agent, when a guy walked behind us, agent. So they said about every fourth person was an agent, an informer for the government. So that's just to give you a sense of how paranoid things are and were. Our mail and packages stopped for several years after that. They were all intercepted or returned. We got nothing from them until a friend went back over after the Soviet Union fell apart and was able to actually contact an English teacher in the village where my family relatives are. So my daughter was in the Peace Corps for 3 years in Western Ukraine. Melissa was in North, in Lutsk. If you listen to the news this morning, that's where there was an airstrike. Also west of Lviv. I spent a lot of time in Lviv. We had our relatives are in Western Ukraine. When I heard about the airstrikes near Lviv in Western Ukraine, I just dreaded checking my phone to see if there were any messages about family. That's how close and immediate it was. I mean, I just pray that they're safe. The people of Ukraine are protected from further violence. And just a bit about the news. I heard there were 30 cruise missiles that were fired, and they hit not far from the Polish border. And then a later report said, 22 of them were shot down. And then later news said a Russian plane had dropped bombs, 8 bombs. Okay, now there are 3 contradictory reports, and this just gives you a sense of what it's like trying to get straight information in a war zone. It's very fragmented, incomplete, it may be completely wrong, and where do you go if you try to base your next moves on information? But I just wanted to say that misinformation, things you hear about Ukraine and don't hear about Ukraine, it's a very strategic part of the war, and it literally is a war. I mean, is it a hospital when you see wounded pregnant women being carried out on a stretcher? Or is that some military target, as the Russians would claim? So relatives there tell me that they cannot trust information, particularly television, because most of it, as they said, they don't watch anymore because it was all Russian propaganda. And in Russian cities where the average Russian citizen wants to find out what's going on, maybe to protest the invasion, over 13,000 of them have been arrested. Those are Russians who are protesting the war in Ukraine. So to contradict the official Russian line and even say the words invasion or unprovoked attack, war, can bring up to 15 years in prison. So some of that paranoia I experienced back in 1978 has deepened, strengthened, and become more of a totalitarian dictatorship. It's a very scary place to be. Excuse me.
Let me ask you something as just an American watching this from afar. All I see, and tell me if I'm wrong, is a pathetic, sad, and weak little leader of Russia, Putin, trying to enforce an ideology that is long gone. And every day, the Ukrainian people, through strength and passion and just heroic acts, are showing what a small little tiny man he is. And that's all I get out of this. I mean, I don't see any end game for him. I don't see anything that could be positive for the Russian people in this. And trust me, I don't hold the Russian people responsible for this, because they seem like they have absolutely no clue at what, this is all from going on at the top. Where am I wrong in what I'm saying and what I'm thinking? Is there something more to this that I can't, comprehend as, somebody on the other side of the country in the hills of the Northeast?
You're totally right. What we see is a pathetic little man who's got an enormous amount of military control, and the KGB supposedly is gone, but it's been taken over by a new multi-letter agency. His army has been stalled. He has been taking a beating in many of the eastern Ukraine cities. So now he's bringing in mercenary troops. And so what else is in the arsenal? What else is on the shelf? This seems like his last chance to do anything. I think he's, 70 now? Mm-hmm. I may be a little past that, but there is life after 70. There are other productive things you can do besides trying to go and kill.
Not when you're 4'11" and have no dick. Oh, sorry.
Well, so Putin's forces are mostly conscripts. They didn't know what they were doing. A lot of them, we understand, were told that they were just going on a training mission. So he lies to his own people. He lies to the Ukrainian people. He lies to the world. Do we know what's going on? Not really. So I have to rely on things I hear from my family there and the bits and pieces that I get. We were very concerned about some relatives in Kyiv until we found out after about a week or 10 days that they'd made it to the west and were staying with other family members in western Ukraine. One of my cousins there is a baker, and she would make these beautiful, elaborate cakes. And her husband would drive them a certain number of miles to Kyiv to sell in very, very nice shops. And so now she's turned her 3-stove bakery into a place where she's making cakes and buns and rolls and food for the soldiers and shipping them out as soon as they can be made. So people are doing whatever they had done before, but they're redirecting their talents and resources into defending Ukraine, protecting the people around them, but also trying to handle the flood of refugees. The refugees are not coming in through one main road like a turnpike. They're fleeing throughout every road in the country. Because some of the larger roads, as you may have heard, are being attacked by Russians, even though they said that's a safe passageway. No, if their lips are moving, they're lying. So it's not a safe passageway. Another cousin, who was also in the same village, recently went across the border into Poland and then went to another country with her two small children. So her husband and her parents are still left behind. Her husband is of military age, and anyone who's age 18 to 60 is not allowed to leave the country if you're a male and you're healthy. So he's already been tasked with some guard duties, and he might be called up to more active duty literally at any time. And I have a couple cousins who are of that age, so they could literally be in the fighting at any time. Another cousin who's a teacher has been helping at a community center, helping to gather the tons of supplies. And she said in 1 week they handled 10 tons of food, clothing, blankets, heaters, everything from baby formula to medical supplies, boxed it up as soon as it came in, sent it on trucks, and sent it to the east. And hopefully some of those trucks and supplies got through. But 10 tons in 1 week, I mean a very small community, did this. They're all volunteers. They're all helping. They're all doing what they can day and night. My last note from her was 3 days ago, and she was in Poland. She'd gone across the border, and just to write what she had to say, or to read what she had to say, she said, "I don't want to stay here for a long time, but it is dangerous to come back quickly. We shall not have full salary and children don't go to school." She was a teacher, so there's no money coming in either. There's no payment for anybody if all the work is stopped. Mm-hmm. So then there's this, it's not just a matter of food and water. There's no money to buy things or pay for things. She said, now in our town are a lot of people from different cities. It's a horrible dream. So those are, three of my cousins who are in that same perilous situation. And God, I have eaten at their tables. We have, walked with them, talked with them, hugged and kissed, and we love them dearly. And we stay in touch. We have stayed in touch. I'm glad we have the means to do that, but right now it's pretty intermittent. And it feels like a personal affront every time I turn on the news and see what's been happening. I got really, really incredibly depressed, particularly in that first week. And then my wife, Linda, bless her soul, who had also gone over to visit our daughter, Melissa, when she was in the Peace Corps, and met our family as well. She said, "Would you like a Ukrainian flag?" And I said, Sure. So she made this flag that you see behind me, which is on our light post out front. And I said, it's got a heart in it. But I like that. And you'll see a lot of, cities turning on blue and yellow lights, in honor of those national colors. Now this flag, if you would imagine it turned, it's hanging because it's on a post, so that the blue is up and the yellow is down. This will tell you what it's about. It's the blue sky over the wheat fields of Ukraine. So that's why you have the two colors in the Ukrainian flag. Blue sky and the wheat fields.
Well, let me tell you something, Jim. I'm a very, very proud Irish American. I'm very proud of my Irish heritage. But in all honesty, I can say I would be honored to be a Ukrainian right now because I have never seen people band together. I've never seen people fight side by side. And I never seen just average, everyday civilians sticking together to defeat evil, to defeat
Yeah.
I never thought I would see this in 2022. So, as you know, I love you, Jim. You're like a hero to me, and I'm proud to know you, and I'm proud to know of your Ukrainian heritage. And you were very kind enough to send me some photos. So, CJ, my friend, are you available to pop up?
Yo.
Hello, CJ. I know that Jim furnished us with some photos, and if you don't mind, Jim, we'll put them up one by one. And
Okay.
if you want to give us some thoughts on what we're looking at, that would be wonderful.
I'll do my best.
Okay.
As you may know, around Easter time, that's when Ukrainian pasanki, or decorated Easter eggs, become prominent. My wife is actually working on some right now. But my daughter, Melissa, took me down to this town where it's the National Pasanki Museum. So inside, they have all of these pasanki, the eggs that are written. They're not painted, it's like written. And each of the symbols, each of the colors has a particular meaning. So they're not just, hey, that's a pretty color, it's a pretty picture. They're an inherent part of Ukrainian culture. So this was taken outside the museum.
Oh, that's wonderful. CJ, what? There we go.
This is Lviv. If you can read Ukrainian or Cyrillic, that's Lviv, Lviv. And it's a promotion for soccer. It does say Poland, Ukraine, 2012. That's back one of the times I was there. I was there 2012 and 2018. That was my last visit over there. So it was just, hey, here's some interesting looking writing. Maybe I'll be able to read that later when I get home.
Looks like it says Airbnb to me, stupid American.
Hey, it could be. It could be. Could be. Saturday, a week ago, I was asked if I would speak at a vigil for Ukraine on the square in downtown Gettysburg. I talked to my daughter Melissa, who is at the lectern there, who served 3 years in the Peace Corps, and she's wearing her Vyshyvanka, her embroidered shirt, and my wife and I each have one as well. And she read a poem in Ukrainian by one of the famous Ukrainian poets, and then read the translation in English, and talked a little bit about her experiences in Ukraine, about how, the university where she taught English was named after a poet. Not some famous war hero, not some president. It was named after a poet. If you look at the currency of Ukraine, they're poets, they're artists. I think that should tell you something too. But I'm fantastically proud of our daughter. She has been going through a lot of heartache, and but I have to tell you, David, you mentioned the support. If you look around at the people wearing blue and yellow, one of the organizers even had a flag, Ukrainian flag made. He said he and his mother were up the night before making it, and they were going to give it to me. It worked out that Melissa brought one that her students had given her. So we didn't get that one, but just the support, and there was TV coverage. So it felt like it was a good opportunity to get across a little wider picture and talk about some of the nature of what was going on in Ukraine, how we knew it in better times, and what we're hearing from our relatives over there now. These are a couple cousins. This is another city, not the smaller town. One has been fairly ill. The one in the white shirt is one of the cousins I was walking down the street with in 1978, and said, Jim, watch out for the agent who's there on the street. And the other cousin, sadly, has passed away a couple years ago. But they're just dear, loving people. They are so. When I found out that this cousin was having some very difficult physical problems, I literally broke down and cried, because that was such a connection to my earlier family there. And his son just took me in his arms and said, Jim, it's okay. It's okay. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. But so these are some of my relatives there.
And what city is this, Jim?
I'd rather not mention it, but
Okay, okay. Sorry, it's quite all right.
it's Western Ukraine.
I understand.
And this is another lady who lives in the same town of my other relatives with her son and grandkids. And in the backyard, people would say, before we went to Ukraine, you try to read up on the country and what's good for you and what's not good for you. And they say, don't eat local food and don't drink the water and, only eat things that are prepared perhaps in a restaurant or canned goods. Well, we get to their little town. There's all this beautiful fresh food everywhere. And you look out the back and the whole backyard is a garden. In this case, my cousin here keeps bees and makes honey. In my tea tonight, I'm having some of the honey she gave me a couple years ago. She gave us so much honey to bring back. I'm still having some. I had some tonight in her honor. But they have cows, they have pigs, they have chickens, they raise rabbits, they have orchards, fruit trees, vegetable gardens, and they go fishing. So I said, well, are there restaurants or grocery stores in the town? And they said, well, there's one small grocery store, but nobody goes there. Everybody grows their own food. So, and I said, well, I heard you couldn't trust local food. And they said, we don't trust anything that comes in those cans from those factories. So, you have two sides of a coin there.
Jim, I see this picture, and these children are absolutely beautiful, and it shatters my heart to see that we are losing beautiful Ukrainian children. We see it on the news almost every night, and it makes you wonder what kind of just pure evil, sadistic human being could target, women and children. And it just, this is just me opining. I apologize for hijacking.
You're absolutely right, David, and I totally respect that opinion and view, because they're so bright, and there's an innocence there. Excuse me, just such a positive outlook.
Yes, you look at these two children, and you could tell that they light up any room that they're in. And the fact that children like this throughout Ukraine tonight are in danger because of some little schmuck it's just sad and wrong. I'll let you continue. Sorry, CJ. Pop up the next picture.
No, that's fine. Yeah. I went fishing with my cousins here, and they're all my cousins. And so when we got back to the house, one of them's wife said, "Geez, I don't see any fish. Where were the fish?" So they all talked about the ones that got away. And you can see, okay, here's how long it is at the arm, but you look at the hand above, that's how big the fish really was, the little fish. It was so a great sense of humor, just a love of life and appreciation and love of family. And I have to say also deeply rooted religious beliefs. They really follow holiday cycles. They follow day to day, prayers, wishing well. When first time I came from Lviv in a cab with my cousin, and the cab driver, every time he would pass a church, he would, cross himself. I said, wow. So there's this, this deep abiding faith. And I think that's one of the things that keeps all of them bright too.
No, absolutely. And that's what probably makes them fierce warriors. And I want to know, the guy on the far left, he must have caught one hell of a fish. He's probably still eating it.
You see that space between his thumb and his first finger?
Yes, that's the size of the real fish he caught.
That's the size of the fish. This kind of jumps back to the Pasanki Museum. Mm-hmm. And this was one of the people who was maintaining the eggs, because they are on exhibit. And these are some of the ones she was adjusting or maybe recoding to help preserve. But of course, these are all hand done. And there's just beautiful work. I saw so many things there that just astounded me, that the work of human hands and the patience and the level of detail just kind of blew me away. We can go to the next one. There we go. There I am on the train. My daughter Melissa took this one, and I'm catching up on my Ukrainian phrase book. That's another interesting thing. Back when I was there in 1978, excuse me, in Western Ukraine, people would speak bits of Ukrainian, English, German, Russian, and Polish. So if you spoke literally any of those languages, you would probably be understood. That was 1978. When I got there in 2012, it was a lot different. It was in 2018, after the Russians had taken over Crimea, and I tried to dig up some of the language bits and pieces that I knew, and I'd say, that's very nice. That's хорошо, that's very good. And they said, Jim, no, it's дуже добре, very good, no-ruski. They were consciously taking all the Russian out of their language in casual conversations and everything else. And I found that kind of striking too. But then one of my other cousins posted kind of I guess it would be a meme, but it was a set of instructions for people who normally speak Russian and who are Ukrainian, that they can feel free to try to speak Ukrainian and nobody's going to laugh at them. Practice it. Use these words. We will help you. We will support you. This is our national language, because it had been suppressed by Stalin and by other former Soviet regimes. So it's a matter of pride. It's a matter of spirit to know the Ukrainian language as well. My daughter Melissa, my wife Linda, and that guy on the left that you might know as me. These were the vyshyvankas that were presented to us by family members. Some of them were hand sewn by our family members. One of the cousins is a seamstress. She makes clothing. She has a section of her home where she lived. I'm not sure what she's able to do at this point, but you can see the beauty of the work. And again, the colors, the red around the neck, around the sleeves, those are symbolic. They protect you from evil spirits getting in that way. The brightness of the colors, the patterns. There's just so much richness in the culture.
You know what's funny, Jim? It almost reminds me, and please forgive me if I'm mistaken, but it almost reminds me of something American Indians would wear. Is it a religious garb?
It is kind of similar in that way too, because if you notice the beads that Melissa and Linda are wearing, beadwork, jewelry is a very large part of it. A lot of Ukrainian women would not leave the house until they really check the mirror. I mean, they're not going out with curlers in their hair. If they don't look like they're ready, to go down a runway, they take a lot of pride in their appearance. And so they take a lot of pride in the clothes they make and wear. But some of those designs and patterns may be considered universal as well.
I will say that I got to meet your beautiful, beautiful wife, I think on a few occasions. She's just a lovely lady. But you have a beautiful daughter, and I hope to someday meet her. She looks like somebody that is extremely interesting and somebody I would love to talk to someday.
Well, having a daughter yourself, and one in whom you have great pride and righteous pride, we share that pride of fatherhood, David.
No, absolutely. I could tell. Was that the last photo, CJ?
Yeah, that was the last one for the Ukraine. I do have this photo right here, Jim. If you could please talk to us about this one.
Well, this is a work of art. In Rome is a place called the Sistine Chapel. And these two fingers are coming together,
I do have quite a few comments here. Just want to kind of go over them real quick.
Oh, sure.
Quite a few. This is from Michael
Tamanya. It's a relative of mine, Michael. I hope you're well. Love to the family.
And then he was saying that he's very interesting and enjoyable stories from days gone by. Prayers to the people of Ukraine.
Thank you very much, Michael. Thank you.
Gwendolyn, hard rock star. Hi, Gwendolyn.
Wow.
And then we got Brandon E. Brooks.
Great filmmaker.
He says, "Hi Jim, prayers for the safety of your family. Just wanted to say on another note, fantastic acting work in the indie film A Host of Sparrows. I screened it at a film festival. I used it to work with years back. Chilling performance."
Very cool.
Thank you very much. That was a fun role for me. I never got to play a hitman before, and just a happy guy.
Jules saying it was horrific. And then we also have God bless them all and may they stay safe. And again, from Michael Tamangna. Sorry, your name wrong. And then we also have I'm so sorry from Lee.
Thank you, Lee.
I'm so sorry, Jim. We hope things change soon. My son wants to go over and help. It's hurting our souls what's happening to those sweet people. And then
Lee's got a heart of gold.
Wonderful lady. Wonderful
And
lady.
Jeff is a terrific friend, terrific guy.
No, Jeff's a great guy.
yeah, your stories make this real instead of just a news story about some far off place. Thank you for sharing, and our hearts go out to you and your family and the Ukraine people.
And
Carrie
Jeff
actually has a
was
great
well.
question. Carrie wants to know, what does Jim think is going to happen now?
At this point, I think it's going to continue to get worse. We've seen this morning, that missiles, bombs, or cruise missiles, whatever, were fired very close to the Polish border. They say it was an attack on a military base. I am no seer, but I do know that relatives in Western Ukraine thought they were pretty secure. With all the refugees coming through their town, their village, and they're helping them as much as they can. In a few days, there will probably have been 3 million people who have fled the country. There's a lack of food, there's a lack of water. The potential escape routes or humanitarian escape routes for convoys leaving the cities are being attacked. It's just ruthless genocide. There is no other word for it. When a hospital or a maternity ward or a cancer unit is bombed and there are no immediate fatalities, let me jump to this. People are always asked to pray for Ukraine, and you kind of wonder if it makes a difference. And I'm going to have to tell you, I think yes, it does. If you've ever been in surgery and you're feeling all depressed and wiped out and fatigued, and suddenly this idea that comes into your mind that you're going to get better, you get more energized, and then there's like a burst of energy with that. So is that the power of prayer? Like your friends praying for you, that you get this influence offered for your health by somebody else, maybe somebody you don't even know. Maybe it's another patient down the hall or the doctor. But the universe, it really is still a pretty mysterious place. So I think that if there's a maternity ward or a hospital or a facility like that, a cancer unit that's bombed, and it's literally wiped out, and there are almost no casualties. Some people are wounded, but almost no casualties. You have to think, did the hand of God come in and put up some kind of umbrella? I mean, didn't stop the war, but minimized some of that potential damage. It could have been even more horrific. Not all situations are like that, of course, but it makes me wonder, and I continue my prayers, and I certainly ask for everybody else to continue theirs. As far as what else I think is going to happen, I think we in the United States have done a lot. We've banded together. As I said, we did a vigil on the town square in Gettysburg. There was a terrific turnout. Jeannie Jeffries, who's the blonde zombie in Dawn of the Dead. I don't know if some of you might have heard of the movie Dawn of the Dead. I had a small role in it. It got smaller as the role went on, and he took the top of my head off. But Jeannie made bracelets like this, which are, blue and yellow, and she sent them to us, and I thought, what a dear heart she is. She lets raccoons come in her house because she loves them, and they play with the dog and all the other stuff. Another friend at the rally, Hillary, gave me. Let's see, I can do this. There you go.
Oh, wow, yeah. It's a heart with the Ukraine colors. Yeah.
Ukrainian heart, and it's made on a slice of wood. Linda said, well, we're going to have to go out, and there's still not a curfew, but mandates out there, so let's be prepared. So she made us these as well.
I want one of those. I got to get my hands on one of those.
The other side of it, sunflowers.
Flowers. Ah.
I mean, that's the limit. I mean, how can you not absolutely love her for that heart? Just like the flag behind me, that type of support. We got a knock on the door the other night, and a neighbor came over, seeing the flag, reading the newspaper article about the vigil and so forth, and he brought us this.
Aw.
He painted this and did a great job on it. But, so, little known, every bit of information and prayer and bit of support, it really does help. I mean, all this stuff got me out of a funk. And as much as I tried to stay positive, it was pretty grim, pretty depressing. But I have to thank everybody who's shown a bit of the flag, spoken out a little, made an effort to learn more about Ukraine and the history behind all of this. This is going back for years and years and years. There's a fantastic book called Red Famine about the Stalin years in the 1930s and how his 5-year plan didn't work out. So he punished all the Ukrainians for not bringing in more grain. And it was a horrible harvest. They couldn't do anything. So they took the seed grain for the following year and starved about 6 million Ukrainians. Tried to blot out the Ukrainian language, customs, culture. You could not speak on the street Ukrainian language. So these are things that history has shown us don't go away. They stay in the minds of some of these old fools who think that they have a right to take over the world and do whatever they want with it. And it involves other people's lives. There was an expression, old men start wars and young men fight them. I think we're seeing a bit of that right now.
Sadly, I think a lot of the young men who are perpetrating these terrorist-like acts against the Ukrainian people are not really even aware of, I mean, they seem to not be even aware of what they're doing it for.
Oh, I just wanted to drop one note in the comment there from Jeff Leinbach. Jeff was also in Darkness Waits.
Yes,
he was sitting at the bar when you guys walked in, Mr. Mayor. Eh?
Yes, he was in, yeah.
One thing I like to
Jeff's
say,
a great guy.
And Scott did a fantastic job in there. I'm not just patting your back because you patted mine, Scott, but I mean, I was held. It's always a joy to watch you on screen. And David, you didn't have as many close-ups, but I mean, you guys, when you came in, you lit up the room.
Well, I mean, look at that face. Who the hell would want to put it on? Who the hell would want to put it on a close-up? Scott and I have had some wonderful, wonderful road trips together. In fact, we could do a whole episode of this show on driving back from that shoot.
Wow.
When we got kind of stuck in the middle of Amish country. It's a whole other story, but it was actually kind of funny. So, Jim, is there anything that you would like to share in closing? First off, I want to say that I've been doing this show now. I think this is like the beginning of our 3rd year. And I said earlier that it's like episode 1,900,000. It's not 1 million. It's close though. And out of all those shows, I have to say that tonight's was I've had Oscar-winning filmmakers on here. I've had rock stars, and nothing ever touched me as deeply as the show did tonight. It was never as important as it was tonight. And with that being said, is there anything in closing that you would like to get out there so that maybe we could understand a little better where we should go from here?
I love Sid too. She's Jeff's wife. They're a great couple. A lot of people have asked. Well, people have told me, they woke up crying, when they saw the news, or it really hurts, and they just depressed and they can't do anything. You have to stay strong if you're going to try to help somebody else. You have to build yourself up. You have to find the reserves and the resources within yourself to stay strong so that you can be of help to somebody else. Other people have asked, where can I send help? How can I help? And there are a number of organizations. If all you have to do is go onto Facebook, and you'll see everybody we're going to send aid to Ukraine. How do you know it's legitimate? And that's a very tricky question, because there are a lot of organizations which have been around a long time. I would suggest a couple of them are like Save the Children. That's been around a while. There's also Return Peace Corps Volunteers for Ukraine, and you can look for them. The Mennonite Central Committee. That's the Mennonite Central Committee. I believe they even started in Ukraine, so they're providing a lot of assistance there. Doctors Without Borders, I think, just had recently, maybe today, had to pull some of their resources out. There are a lot of other ones too. I mean, there's a Heart to Heart International, the International Medical Corps, UNICEF. But if you have a question about whether or not, there is a legitimacy to the plea, and whether your donation will get there, you can go to a site called charitynavigator.org. And you will probably find most all charities listed on there, and you can find their rating, how much they take for administrative costs, how much goes directly to help people. And I would say that is kind of a great filter to help you get rid of some of the chaff that might be trying to clutter your eyes and attention at this point, because there are a lot of needs, and a lot of organizations are trying to address very specific needs. And you can look through the list of charities on charitynavigator.org and perhaps find something that's suitable to your inclinations, whether it's medical help, clothing, food, help people in Poland, help those people, help the refugees. So there's always something you can do, but first of all, you have to try to bring it to yourself to stay strong.
Absolutely.
David, I want to thank you and the crew today. CJ and Scott, you guys are just golden. I mean, I love you, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to get a little bit more of this word out, let people know what I'm hearing, just because I have some personal connections there and have been there a couple of times. And I have to tell you, one of my first things is to learn about Ukraine, and you've given people tonight an opportunity to maybe hear a little bit more about it. So from the bottom of my heart, and the top and the middle, I just want to thank you guys tremendously. Thank you so much.
Jim, as you know, I have nothing but the utmost respect for you. And if my respect level for you, I didn't think it was possible to get any higher, but it's even higher than it was. I love you, I love your family, and I hope nothing but the best for them. And this show is always lighthearted. It's usually about fart jokes and dick sounds and all kinds of stupid shit that we do on here. But there's a point when you have to stand up for what's right. You have to stand up against evil. And we, as a people, need to do that. We need to stand behind our Ukrainian brothers and Ukrainian family in doing so. With that being said, Jim, thank you. I hope to see you. I hope to break bread again with you shortly. And I hope and I pray that your loved ones and your family in Ukraine stay safe, and this all ends as soon as possible with the most positive outcome possible.
Thank you, David. Thank you so much.
Thank
Scott.
you. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Jim Krut. Good night, Jim.
Night.
Okay, I'm trying to keep it together, because I almost, on several occasions tonight, almost felt like I was going to break down, because he brought to us just how real, I mean, what we see is what we see on the news. It's what we're spoon-fed by media. You never know, because sadly, even in this country, there are two sets of medias, and they have their own taint on how things are going. So to have somebody who you know is as genuine as Jim Krut is, and how wonderful, and know him for years and years and years, and never in a million years thought I would be having Jim on my show to talk about, war or anything as deep as that, and to hear the truth and honesty in his words, and the sadness in his heart was just unbelievable. It was just a really really, and I could tell by our audience. I mean, we had a shit ton of comments tonight. Everybody was really, really enthralled with what Jim was talking about. Thank you, Emmett. Thank you, Carrie. It was just a wonderful, wonderful program tonight, and I hope that people seek this specific episode out in the archives to check out to hear what Jim had to say about what was going on in Ukraine. What do you guys? I'm sorry, I was just kind of babbling there. What's up with you guys? What do you guys think?
Oh man, there were some times we tried, as is our nature, to maybe bring a little levity to tonight's show, but it, you know, it was like this is such a horribly heavy thing. You said something earlier about you were impressed by because I saw a lot of the same footage that you did, the people bonding together out in the streets and standing up.
Mm-hmm.
That on the opposite side scared the crap out of me. I'm thinking like the last thing I could fathom is having to stand in front of my place to protect Carrie and I against some idiot, let alone a war.
Right.
Like I thought that was the most frightening thing. I was like, thank God I'm not in that position. Like how horrible.
And with what you just said, I mean, they're doing it. I mean, I see there's videos of old ladies like berating Russian soldiers, handing them sunflower seeds, telling them to put it in their pockets so that when they die on the battlefield, they're good fertilizer for the sunflowers. I mean, these Ukrainians are standing up to tyranny and to terrorists, and it's just amazing.
I did take away what Jim had to say about the positive energy and the way you think about things and kind of I really inspired me to really be like, yeah, he's right. There's always you got to look inside. But he did say a comment that really caught my attention when he said over 70 you could still do things, and like I'm happy like he says that because it shows that he's still at it. He's still grinding. He's still going at it. That makes me be like, oh, I gotta get to those standards. But I'm happy that he still has a great outlook on life, and this is a hard time. So.
Yeah, to be honest with you, CJ, I've spent, luckily, Jim's a dear friend of mine, and we got to spend a lot of time together over the last, 10 years. And even Scott will tell you, this guy is nothing but hustle, but he has this undeniable charm about him where anybody who meets him feels like he's now their closest friend. Yeah. And and it's because he's sincerely interested and sincerely kind to his fans and everybody who comes out to him, and he's just a great guy. And to see what's going on in his home country and to a European nation, no less, is just horrific.
To see him in Darkness Waits, there's a scene there where he's just eating a donut. And he's like it's like so like majestic, and it's just like Jim's just like chill, like he's cool, and that's all he's doing is eating a donut. And I'm like, this is such an awesome scene. That's an awesome shot.
It's funny. The movie has the late great Conrad Brooks. It has the legendary Scott Schiaffo in it. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful performances. But I even said this to Scott, sadly Conrad passed away. I even said this to Scott and Libby and Matt. I think Jim stole that movie. He was fantastic. Right?
He is really wonderful in that film.
He's wonderful in that movie. Yeah. Anybody
who kind of knows him in a smaller capacity like that, you'll get a chance to really see him stretch out. He was just wonderful to watch in that film. That's absolutely true.
Yes, he did. He absolutely brought it home for us tonight. Okay, with that being said, on a lighter note, CJ, thank you so much for stepping in for Joe. All kidding aside, Scott and I love Joe, and we hope that he's feeling better and that he's ready to rock and roll next week. And
love
CJ,
you, Joe.
As you know, well, we love you too. You're welcome on the end of the night, whenever you want to pop on. And
this is great. I gotta say, this is what you said: fart noises and the dick sounds like that.
I have no idea
because he's so upset. He's so upset at what's happening. But I know we all got it. I know what you're saying. That's what I'm saying. It's so hard to bring levity tonight because this was just so. There were a few times I wanted to ask Jim, about pop culture there? And did those folks know about Helicopter Zombie? But it didn't seem appropriate.
Yeah, you know what's funny? Jim also had this wonderful way about talking about something that was absolutely horrific and that was so unbelievably deep. But he had this wonderful way of keeping it in his calm, gentle demeanor, more of painting a word picture with a wonderful brushstrokes where it wasn't as horrific. His words were what he was saying were horrific, but he was telling it from a very human side in a very human story. And really, I mean, I'm very, very proud of the end of the night. I'm very proud of the work that all of us do here on the end of the night. Joe and Scott and CJ and everybody who pops on. We do some really amazing stuff for for an internet show. But tonight, having Jim on was really just very important, and it was very I don't know. It kind of filled my soul up a little more with understanding and hope for maybe a better future, because if the Ukrainian people are as a whole like Jim, I feel bad for the people, anyone who would invade that country, because they're only going to, it's not going to end well for them. With that being said, next week, maybe we'll just have CJ on and
Oh,
Riff
yeah.
with CJ.
Well,
Timely and critical. Thank you, sweetheart.
yeah,
Thank
if
you,
you need me
Gary.
for the pinch, I'll jump in and we'll go down some of my roads.
Well, it says it is true. Like we get into some heavy things on this show on occasion, but tonight was just all out heavy, and there's no way around it. So, I mean, unless you're a warmonger or you deal in hatred, I don't know how you can be anything other than anti-war. And this is
Yeah.
awful. How are we not in a place where we don't have to have war?
it's
I
ridiculous.
know that sounds really, I know that's really naive because man is insane, but I just can't believe. I was saying to Carrie, like, you don't have to worry. There's not going to be a ground war. Hello. Like, I mean, like, in terms of like having to deal with it firsthand in a sense, and because we were watching Lincoln, and that's all. The Civil War was insane.
Yes, we will definitely get updates from Jim. And I actually want to apologize to a lot of folks who watch the show as a weekly getaway and for our lighthearted silliness and, our silly times that we have on here. The show, I'm not saying the show's always silly because we have a lot of, but nothing as deep as what we had tonight. You have to forgive us tonight because this is something that is historically relevant. And if you didn't tune in tonight, we totally understand. We'll be back with our stupidity next week. But maybe if you watched it when you were under the impression that it was not going to be your cup of tea, maybe, just maybe, you learned something tonight. And maybe something important will occur to you over watching the episode tonight. With that being said, Mr. Shaffo, is there anything you want to share with our group before we sign off tonight?
No, man, just listen. As always, thanks for all the support and just try to love one another. And if you can't, just try not to hurt one another, man.
That's wonderful, wonderful words. CJ, any thoughts?
No, I think also that what Jim was saying that things are kind of manipulative a little bit on that side. Like this is like there's a historical documentation going on right now, and if there's like a lot of like manipulation or whatnot, like to the next generation, what are we leaving them, or what are we gonna? And that kind of hurts me. And we're also we're in the future. This is 2022. We should just be getting Xboxes together and going against each other and seeing who's the real war champion, because we don't really need to physically fight. We should do more Olympic competitive shooting, maybe. If you want to have guns, how about not shoot each other? We shoot targets, and
I
then
like it.
We get drunk afterwards, and we talk about it, and we just make fun of it. Like the World Cup, every 4 years. I think we're too modern. The internet's around. It's too much nowadays, and I don't really have an opinion on this because I feel like I'm just kind of but watching it and watching it and seeing it, it hurts. It's really sad. Like defending your home, like I get to go to bed right now, Like it's really a deep feeling to me. So, yeah. Like Brendan E. Brooks says, no need to apologize, David. Evil needed addressing, and it was elegantly by Jim and all you gentlemen. Thank you. Stop hate. Stand up for others. F. Putin.
Thank you, Brendan.
You know, but you're right. You're right, David. I think you're right. This is a show where we come to hang out, like to relax. But if history is going on right now, and we have Jim, it's like we get to see his side, and that's a good part for us to be like right there.
Well,
Yeah,
that's true. He's a big part of this family, and I understand why this was important for you, David, to have him on. I get it completely, and I agree.
No, absolutely, and I think it would have been remiss of us as a program, with how many people we actually get to touch with this show, not to have Jim on at this time, would have been just a sad state of affairs. With that being said, CJ, thank you so much for standing in for Joe tonight. You're awesome. We love you. We think you're awesome. Every week, I end this show with my wonderful saying from what the hell is that movie called? Come on, Scott, help me.
Your favorite movie of all time?
Oh,
right?
It's a Wonderful Life. Yes, I always end my show with a line from It's a Wonderful Life. I'm old. I'm tired. My brain is scrambled. But tonight, I'm going to end with a line from a wise, now deceased sage once said. Give peace a chance. Love you guys. See you guys next week.